Messiah is a prolific 90s game developer and publisher. I've already covered multiple games from them before. They made a lot of stuff with a PC engine, but this time we're tackling a series that started on the Mega Drive, went to the Super Nintendo, and ended up on the Sega Saturn. The first game was Assault Suit Leynos, released March 1990. It would get a North American release where it was known as Target Earth, and they replaced this gorgeous cover with this kind of bland looking one. I mean, the background looks pretty good, but this bizarre mech design that looks more like a man wearing techie armor, it doesn't really do it justice. Sadly, there was no PAL release of this one. The story goes that a group of people have been sent to the far reaches of space on an expedition many years ago, and for some reason they return to attack their home planet. So the Earth's military and its colonies have to step up to defend against them. The first mission sees us on one of these colonies, as we're sent out to take down the attackers. So you gear up and head on out. It's a side-scrolling shooter where you can rotate your weapon and fire in 8 directions. There are 2 aiming types you can choose from. B-type, where you move left and right like normal, and up and down will rotate your weapon, and A-type, where your gun will tilt in whatever direction you press on the D-pad. So if you move left and right, your gun will also move. The first mission is honestly pretty hard because you get bombarded with a bunch of enemies and gunfire from everywhere. The characters in the game start telling you about how you can't let the enemies proceed any further, and I was under the impression that the base maybe had a set amount of health, or I could only let a certain amount of enemies pass, but no, all you're really doing is surviving until this big warship shows up and then you shoot it down. It caused me a lot of frustration and confusion, but what can you do? Your health regenerates over time, which is helpful, but you're still gonna have a hard time getting through this game because it is tough. You only get 2 continues and dying is an instant game over. Thanks to this, I started using save states at the beginning of each mission. Just, still trying to clear something in one go, but man, it's too hard for me. Later stages lets you fly around in space. At first I didn't like how it felt, but once I got used to it, I found it to be pretty fun. And I love how it looks, seeing the horizon and the Earth meeting space in the distance. It's some really great pixel art. After getting to the cities on Earth, you can hover, which is really satisfying, though you have to equip it. You get a whole lot of weapons to choose from as you go on. And while on Earth, you soon manage to intercept the communications from your enemies and come face to face with one of the attackers by the name of Rance, who swears he'll take you down. After a short fight, their forces retreat and the mission ends. I really have to praise the sense of progression in this game. There's so much going on. Each stage feels so drastically different, and the way the story unfolds makes it more satisfying to continue. It really tries to do a lot more than most games of its kind from this era. Eventually, you meet Rance again, in a larger mech this time. He says that their outer space expedition began 100 years ago, but they ended up in deep trouble and called to Earth for help, but no one came to help them. They felt abandoned, and the only thing that helped them survive was something known as the Kron, which helped them get back to Earth and take their revenge. Our protagonist Rex responds stating that there was a world war 100 years ago, and the Earth had no hope of responding to an expedition crew, and that people on Earth still held out hope for those who went out there. Rance says that it's regrettable but too late to stop now. We defeat him once more, and he's clearly heavily injured. 2 missions later, we run into him for one last time, and he's been heavily cybernetically enhanced. Taking him down leads us to the commander of the Krons. He explains that the Krons are what the humans eventually turned into by having to replace flesh with machine to stay alive, and they were preparing to return to Earth, but they were told that they were on their own, and no help would come their way. Even though it was after the war was over, they still got no help, and now he's going to destroy the Earth for giving up on them. After a huge boss fight and defeating him, we watch Rex slowly leave the war zone behind as the Earth emerges victorious, but there's clearly a somber atmosphere lingering as he's learned about what the expedition crew had gone through. Honestly, it's a pretty fun story for a game like this, and that's Assault Suit Leynos. It's a pretty good game, especially for its time, though it can be a bit frustrating with how slow the aiming is and how many enemies there are to take down. It was a bit overwhelming, but you can find ways of maneuvering around your enemies so they have a hard time hitting you and just blasting them. There's a lot to gain from mastering the movement, and if you're down for a challenge, then give it a go. There also exists a remake of this game, but it didn't seem to get the best reception. It has mixed reviews on Steam and features a radically different look and style, but it does restore some minor alterations that the localization had, including removing romantic dialogue for some reason, I don't really know why. The second game is actually a prequel of sorts, Assault Suit Vulcan, released on the Super Famicom in December 1992, and will be released a few months later in North America and PAL regions under the really goofy name Cybernator. The new box art is fine, but man, the mech does not compare to the original at all. It looks way less cool. I do like seeing all the soldiers running away in fear, which is actually something you see in the game in later stages, which is cool. You actually fight enemies on on the ground, just, individual troopers and cars and stuff. You don't often see that in mech games. The game was not only censored in some ways, but they removed the beautiful character portraits that pop up during the dialogue. Thankfully, there has since been a retranslation patch released by fans as well as modern re-releases that fixes all of this. The first mission, we take control of our protagonist Jake as the assault suit's crew have been ordered to invade an enemy ship by ramming the Versus, their command ship, into the enemy walls and sending the assault suits to attack from within. The crew thinks the higher-ups are nuts for ordering them to do this, but they're still going to go through with it. The PlayStation 2 release actually expanded on why the war happens. It talks about how they fight over scarce fossil fuel and territorial rights over the lunar surface. Our protagonist was drafted at 22, and by the time he had finished his assault suit training, the war had spread worldwide. This version adds more flourishes to some cutscenes, making the battle feel more dramatic, as well as changing up the controls by way of having 2 joysticks, so you can aim independently. But I'm playing the Super Famicom release translated by fans. Jake is accompanied by Kurt and Herman in the field and Claire on the comms. Watching the mechs just go, and man, this game looks so cool. The music is blaring and the mechs look badass and there's crazy explosions everywhere. There's a nice weight to the mechs too. You can hover by pressing the jump button in the air, and your gun rotates in whatever direction you're pressing in, and you can slide across the ground in this super satisfying dash mode that's too damn fun. Everything just feels so great and the movement is such a blast. As the crew explores the enemy base, they weren't expecting their weaponry to be operational yet, but it is, and it seems they've gotten some bad intel. So get to the end and destroy the energy unit. Now this is an opening mission. It's easy, straightforward, it grabs you, lets you figure stuff out, and it's a banger. And there's even a secret bonus you can get. If you only destroy the energy unit at the end and no other enemies, then you get the napalm, which is by far the most powerful weapon in the game. And it is so useful. There are other weapons and power-ups you get along the way too. It all drops onto the ground. Though sadly, your health doesn't regenerate automatically, you have to get health pickups, and it is really stingy with it. It's not a big deal in the first mission, but it becomes a big deal very quickly. This game, like the last one, is insanely hard. Mission 2, the first zero-G mission out in space. Just like the last game, you fly in all directions. Though here it actually starts out more like a shoot 'em up. It's kind of cumbersome to move, everything goes by really fast, and the large sprites makes it hard to maneuver around. But after a few tries, I got pretty good at it. As the stage goes on, you get more freedom. After reaching a certain point, you aim in the direction you float, which takes some time getting used to. It's a bit awkward, but not too bad. You can also land onto asteroids and stuff and dash around, which is cool. And at the end of the level, you fight a huge boss hiding amongst the rubble. During the third mission, we start in space, searching a giant asteroid to find an entry to the enemy base. Getting through, we get to their storage area where a man taunts us, jumping into a mobile suit and letting the people inside burn from his thrusters. He's planning on plummeting the base to Earth and cause as much damage as possible, so we have to take him down and then fly up to destroy the thrusters that are currently sending the base on a collision course. This is where the game started really kicking my ass. While you have 3 continues and getting the napalm really helps a lot, it's still tough to avoid taking damage. If this game wasn't so stingy on giving you health, it'd be at least easier to deal with if you could avoid projectiles more, but you're a pretty big mech. I think the game looks and feels great, but it definitely needs some rebalancing. Anyways, we successfully stopped the plan, but our mech is burning up and falling down to the Earth's atmosphere. Several enemies chase after you to shoot you down before retreating so that they also don't have to deal with re-entry, because they won't survive it. But one of the enemies named Ricky gets left behind. His team wants to help him, but they're told to retreat. The Versus, our mothership, flies down to catch Jake, and Jake demands that we save Ricky too. Of course, the ship has gained too much speed at this point, and we crash land onto Earth. The enemy troopers head towards us, so your fellow pilots Herman and Kurt go out to fight them, but Herman is killed in the battle. The same enemy squad from before comes by to pick up Ricky again. Claire tries to keep Jake's spirits up, but he's clearly distraught about everything after losing his friend Herman. Next mission, we gotta stop a giant shuttle from taking off, carrying supplies and mechs for the enemy team. It's a really cool mission. We start with a very short shoot 'em up section, and then going on foot from there, fighting a big boss, finding the shuttle, and then flying after it with the thrusters, blowing it up while it's trying to leave Earth's orbit. It just feels so cool. There's so many different things going on all the time. Following this, we have a large-scale assault on the enemy's capital. But to get there, we have to deal with anti-air cannons blocking our path to the rendezvous point. So Jake and Kurt go on ahead. This game keeps switching things up, but in such fun ways. You're sort of auto-dashing to the enemy base in the start, shooting enemies as you get there, and then you walk into the base and it's all dark and creepy and you get assaulted by this giant fucking machine. There's just always so much stuff going on. It's always always throwing things at you and keeping it interesting and doing fun things, and I just really love it. After that, we head through a big base that confuses the pilots. They were told this was just an anti-aircraft base, but it's way bigger than that, with massive construction tools, and it seems like they were making something bigger. Taking out the AA turrets, we meet up with the main forces. Jake thinks to himself that this meaningless war can finally end and bids farewell to his second home, the Versus mothership. Onwards through an onslaught of enemies and into the congressional building, we'll meet our rival once more, Major Veldark, as he's protecting their president. After taking him down in a fairly simple boss fight, we gotta fly up, crashing through several floors and finding the president. Our orders are to take him in, and Jake demands that he take responsibility for the war he caused, but he claims it was just a natural outcome of things, as if it was inevitable. Then he states that he's going to take responsibility and shoots himself in the head. Jake is shocked, asking how that was taking responsibility for anything. This scene was censored in the PAL and North American releases. In that version, they just cut it out completely and skip right to the next section. We're then called to assist as a giant enemy assault suit is attacking, so we head through this narrow hallway, but we're stopped by Ricky, who does not want us to reach the Major. After a quick fight, we reach the final boss. A final showdown with Veldark, who now just wants to kill us to restore his own pride. This giant war machine will wreak havoc on the world, so we fly up alongside it and take it down. It's pretty challenging, though destroying the arms will net you some health items, and you just gotta find the right spots to stay out of his lines of fire. Sort of ducking up and down and trying to get in and out of position, we finally kill him off and blast out of the exploding building. Jake reunites with Claire and the war is finally over. It's a decent story that tries to have a lot of characters and names to go around, but most of them aren't well developed. But I like that it tries. I really gotta respect it. It has a lot of cool moments. Sadly, I feel the war itself is a little vague. I wish we got more details on it. The first game's story was so simple but solid, and I felt like I understand why everything was happening. This game doesn't give you as much to chew on in that regard. But that being said, there is more story scenes in this one, and I really like what they try to do. It was really fun to follow along. Not bad at all. A decent plot for a great game, and like the first game, it's really difficult. While this one gives you more continues and mission checkpoints, it can still be pretty frustrating. I wish they brought back the health regeneration from the first game or give you way more pickups. I genuinely recommend using save states. I tried my best to beat this several times without it, but I couldn't do it. Saving at the beginning of each area is what I ended up doing, and getting that napalm early on helps a lot. Regardless, it's so satisfying to play. The variety is great, the music is fun, the story is good, and there's so much stuff going on, it's well worth a try. This also got a modern re-release, which added back the portraits missing from the old localizations and uncensored the game. The last one we got is Assault Suit Leynos 2, released February 1997. We're moving up to 32-bit with the Sega Saturn. This is the first one to be a Japan exclusive, and there are no fan translations, but it did get an official re-release and translation in 2024. I gotta admit, the cover this time around is kinda boring. You can vaguely see an assault suit in the crosshairs, but it's mostly just this UI, kind of like what it would be like in the inside of one of the mechs. And the artwork's, I don't know, it has this try-hard cool look about it, like it wants to be cool so badly, but it looks like a cheesy 90s American comic book, which isn't a bad aesthetic, but look at them standing in front of this PNG of a fire. Fuck, dude, that's so cool, man. No, but seriously, I don't like the art in this one, I don't know. Anyways, onto the game. We get the cheesiest opening so far with this kind of goofy but pretty fun song. Jumping into our first mission, our squad has gotten a direct order from the president. We get some chatter amongst the crew and a little bit of time to show off everyone's personalities. They're a real cocky little group. They are elites who only get called in when they're really needed. Like before, we can dash, jump, hover, switch weapons, and alternate between different modes of aiming. But now we can do that in real time, either a fixed angle, moving with the D-pad, or auto lock on. And I like this because the different aiming types can be useful in different scenarios. Just like the last game, this feels super smooth. I don't feel like I have any trouble controlling it, and it's easier to aim around this time too. It feels great. After dealing with a huge mech, we move on to the second mission. Like the first game, you have a big loadout system with different guns and limited ammo, but you now have visible stats for each one: attack range, weight, power, etc. It's cool stuff. You can also equip different types of upgrades to your mech, and you can switch between different mechs too. Next mission, we're climbing a giant mountain to head to the 7th enemy base called the Big Wall, which apparently no one has survived getting to. I like that this game still values its variety, climbing the mountain as it changes from day to night and heading inside to fight a bunch of enemies in a base. There's a lot of things to look at, although I don't feel like it tries to change up the gameplay styles as much as the last game did. It's definitely not got as much variety as Vulcan, but it still tries. After this mission, there's this tournament mode of all things where you fight through a gauntlet. The protagonist Kyle did not get permission to do this, so he's all worried about the higher-ups finding out. It's a fun optional thing, but you can also lose or give it up and just move on to the next proper mission. It's just a little extra thing you can do. There's also some attempts at variation that I don't really care for, like a long escort mission where you have to protect this giant shuttle. It's just not really fun. There's so many enemies, it's not too hard, but it's a bit overwhelming. I'm just not an escort mission fan, but whatever. Eventually, we're told of a Dr. Boris who's making a top secret super weapon that can be a threat to all colonies. They're worried about it falling into enemy hands, and this leads to the first space mission. Auto aim is a huge help here, as we have to deal with a sneak attack and fight another mobile suit. It's pretty neat stuff. And after breaching through the enemy bases, one of the assault suit pilots tells us how incredible we are and that their blood flows through our veins as well, which is never expanded upon. Maybe that was supposed to hint at deeper lore that will be expanded upon in sequels, but we would never get that. Our comms are cut out, and we reach the core of the enemy base. Commander Blood, which is a funny name, is waiting there. He claims that the earth will tremble and the primitive apes on the surface will bow to him. Dr. Boris warns him that the weapon isn't ready yet, but he doesn't give a damn. We have a big old fight against him in space, take him down, and that's it. There's really not a lot to say about the story in this one. It's incredibly simple. It doesn't really compare to the story of the previous two games, where I felt like there was a lot more going on. And that's Assault Suit Leynos 2. Like the others, it's a challenging game, but it feels good and has some neat and kind of varied levels. It's the easiest and smoothest to control, but it's just not as fun as the others, and the story feels half finished. I don't have too much to say about it, honestly. I mean, it's a good game, don't get me wrong, just nothing super special. And outside of re-releases and the first game's remake, there's not much else to say about the franchise. Well, sort of. There was Assault Suits Vulcan 2 on the PS1. It was developed by Tam and not Messiah. It's a turn-based RPG. It's a pretty slow and boring game, and one I did not have the patience to go through. It really does not bear much connection to the main series anyways. I wish we got a new entry, because I think there's a lot more stories to unfold here. But as it stands, it's a neat little franchise worth giving a try. And that's all I got for you this time. Thanks for watching.